day, everyone. We at Kara Tutoring provide not only classes for the SAT, but also classes for other courses, including the IB program and such for underprivileged students, completely free of charge. If you're interested, please take a look at our website, which will be linked in the description box down below. Today, I'll be explaining what exactly is an equation of line and how to form it. This lesson appears quite often on the SAT, so it's important to learn it before you get to the actual tests. First of all, how does an equation of line look like? Equation of line comes in the form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept of the line. Slopes, how do you get the slopes? There are numerous ways on how to get the slope, and it all depends on the context of the problem. So here are all the ways it can appear. First, if you're given two coordinates, you should simply use the equation y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That's only if you're given 4 points. The second scenario is if you're given simply the equation of line, the m, which is the coefficient of the x, is the slope without any calculations, just as I said a while ago. If you are given a graph without any points or anything, you create a triangle with the line given and then use the rise over run technique. Rise is basically the point where the line intersects the y-axis, and then the run is the point where the line intersects the x-axis, and then you just form your slope. Another tip, if the line, you can clearly see if the line is negative or positive. If the line is positive, you don't add any sign. But if you can clearly see that the line is negative, don't forget your negative sign. Okay, there are other ways, one of which is if a line passes through the origin is 0, 0, the slope is simply y over x. Nothing else, just y over x. If you are given an angle, the slope is tan the angle, and the angle is always the one closer to the x-axis. So if you have a line and there's an angle above the line and an angle under the line, you should always choose the angle under the line because it's much closer to the x-axis. Okay, types of slopes. Types of slopes, they can either come as positive, negative, 0, or undefined. A positive slope increases from left to right, but a negative slope is quite the opposite. It's decreasing from left to right. A horizontal line, which means that you only have the value of the y and you do not have an x, which is 0 slope because you don't have an x. It's not increasing or decreasing from the left to right. Undefined is when you have a value for the x, but you don't have a value for the y. And it's of course a vertical line and does not move to the left or to the right. Parallel and perpendicular lines are another scenario of lines. Sometimes they're just going to give you one equation and then they'll ask you to mimic another equation of line for another set of coordinates. And if a line is parallel to the other, their slopes are always equal. For example, if the slope of one line is 4 and they are parallel, the question clearly says that they are parallel, the slope of the other one is also 4. In the other scenario, if a line is perpendicular to the other, their slope is the negative reciprocal of the other. So for example, if the slope is 3, the other slope is negative 1 over 3. And if it's, for example, a fraction, let's say 5 over 3, the slope of the other line is negative 3 over 5. So you basically have to flip the fraction and just add a negative or remove the negative depending on the original one. So what are slopes called on the SAT? Usually the SAT won't just tell you, here's the slope. It's gonna come in different terms and you have to familiarize yourself with them before the tests. So it can either be rate, change, charge, increase, decrease, additional, per, each, basically anything that can indicate a change or something that changes over time, something that changes as the x changes, stuff like that. And if it does not indicate any type of movement as x decreases or increases, it's definitely not the slope. It's probably like the y-intercept. So y-intercepts. Y-intercepts are also commonly known as start, beginning, initial, base, basic, phi, or y when x is 0. The last one is very important because it can ask you to get the y-intercept of a line, and all you have to do is just plug in 0 for x and you have your y-intercept. That's also similar for the x-intercept. If it asks you for the x-intercept, all you have to do is just plug in 0 for the y and you have your x-intercept. Of course, after you calculate, but then of course you have your x-intercept in the end. Thank you for listening.